It's hiding in old drawers, forgotten jars, and dusty shoeboxes in the attic. A tiny copper coin, just 1 cent in face value, but potentially worth $960,000 in today's collector market. And not just any coin. We're talking about the 1960 D Lincoln penny, a coin so rare, so misunderstood, that many people toss it away without a second thought. If you're someone who's collected coins casually over the years, or maybe inherited an old stash from a relative, this might just be the most valuable 10 minutes of your life. Because the truth is, wealth doesn't always come in the form of stock portfolios or high-end real estate. Sometimes it comes disguised as pocket change. But here's the twist. Not every 1960 D penny is worth a fortune. So what makes this one so special? Let's rewind the clock. In the year 1960, America was in the midst of a transition. Eisenhower had handed the torch to Kennedy. The country stood on the edge of a new decade, and deep inside the Denver Mint, a quiet mistake happened. One that would set the coin world ablaze. It began with a simple redesign. Midway through 1960, the U.S. Mint modified the date on the Lincoln cent. They started the year with what collectors call the small date variety, and later replaced it with the large date design on most coins. This shift went unnoticed, but on a select few Denver minted pennies, the changes overlapped. And that's when things got interesting. Some coins were struck with mismatched dies, resulting in extremely rare small date over large date or double die varieties. These are the unicorns of U.S. coinage, and they're what every collector dreams of discovering. Now, here's where it gets thrilling. One of these rare varieties, an exceptionally preserved 1960 D small date Lincoln cent with RPM, that's repunched mint mark, for the uninitiated, was recently evaluated at nearly $960,000 due to its mint condition, historical anomaly, and collector demand. Yes, nearly $1 million for a penny most people would walk past on the street. Still think your spare change is worthless? Let's break down what makes this specific coin so incredibly valuable. First, rarity. Only a tiny number of these error coins escaped into circulation before the mint corrected the dies. Most have been lost, spent, or degraded by time. Finding one in high grade, especially in uncirculated condition, is like striking gold in your own sock drawer. Second, demand. Coin collectors worldwide are obsessed with these transitional and error pennies. Why? Because they tell a story. They're not just currency. They're relics of American craftsmanship, human error, and the fascinating imperfections of history. Third, condition. Coins are graded on a 70-point scale, and the closer your penny is to a perfect 70, the more it's worth. That $960,000 valuation? It was for a specimen graded MS67 plus red. Flawless, bright, untouched by decades of wear. It's a showstopper. But don't let that discourage you. Even circulated 1960 D small date pennies with visible errors, like doubling in the date, or a clearly repunched D mint mark, can fetch hundreds or even thousands of dollars. One collector's throwaway is another's treasure chest. Still wondering, how do I know if my penny is the golden one? Good question. Start by examining the date. If the numbers in 1960 appear smaller and closely spaced, especially the 9 tucked in under the 6, you might be holding a small date variety. Then, check the mint mark, that little D under the date. Is it crisp? Or does it look like it was struck twice, slightly offset? That could be an RPM. Got a magnifying glass? Good. Got a steady hand and a curious mind? Even better. But if not, don't worry. There are professionals who will evaluate your coin for free or a small fee. Just be sure to trust reputable numismatic organizations. And here's the part that keeps collectors up at night. No one knows how many of these million-dollar pennies are still out there. They could be in coin jars across America, forgotten in old dresser drawers, or buried in inherited collections that haven't been touched in decades. Maybe, just maybe, they're in your house right now. You might be thinking, could I really get rich from a penny? Well, tell that to the guy who once found one in a bag of wheat cents he bought for $20, and later sold it at auction for over $800,000. Or the widow who inherited a coin folder from her late husband, only to discover a rare 1960 D among the pages. Later appraised at 6 figures. That's not luck. That's awareness. That's knowing what to look for. But here's the catch. Opportunity doesn't wait. Coin values fluctuate with the market. The demand for high-grade error coins is sky-high right now, and collectors are paying top dollar to secure the last great pieces. Will that be true next year? Who knows? So if you have old coins lying around, this is the time to act. Not tomorrow. Not next weekend. Now. Because here's the truth. Those who hesitate often miss the treasure entirely. You've just learned about one of the most valuable pennies in American history. You've learned what to look for, why it matters, and what it could be worth. But here's the real secret: there are other coins just like it. Hidden gems waiting to be discovered. Some even more valuable than the 1960D. And in our next video, we're going to uncover another penny that's making headlines for crossing the $1 million mark. Don't miss it. Because while everyone else is chasing get-rich-quick schemes, you might just be holding the real thing, right in your pocket. Imagine this. You're digging through an old coffee tin of loose change tucked away in the back of a dusty drawer. Pennies, nickels, dimes, just junk? Or so you thought. But what if I told you that one of those humble little copper coins, the 1964 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, could be worth up to $964,000 today? Yes, you heard that right. 1 cent, nearly $1 million value. One coin. One chance. The real question is, do you have it? Most people never even stop to check. They toss these coins aside like trash. But for those who know where to look, who know what to look for, there lies an opportunity that could change your life in a way few people ever experience. Now, before you go rushing off to grab that jar of coins under your bed, stay with me. Because in the next few minutes, you're going to learn not only why this 1964 penny is worth so much, but also how to identify the one that could turn you from everyday coin collector into a modern-day millionaire. It begins, like all great stories, with something that looks completely ordinary. 1964 was a year of change. The Civil Rights Act was signed into law, the Beatles came to America, and the U.S. Mint produced billions of Lincoln cents. Over 6.4 billion of them, to be exact. So why in the world would any of them be rare? Here's where it gets interesting. The Philadelphia Mint, responsible for billions of these coins, didn't include a mint mark in 1964. So any penny from that year without a mint mark came from Philadelphia. That's normal. That's not what makes it valuable. The value lies in what hides beneath the surface. Because among those billions of coins, a tiny fraction, an infinitesimal number, were struck with errors, double dies, or had unique traits that were never meant to leave the mint. And when those mistakes happen, that's when collectors go wild. That's when a penny becomes a payday. Some of these rare 1964 no-mint mark Lincoln cents show extreme doubling in the date or the words, "In God We Trust." Others have striking defects that create one-of-a-kind patterns on the coin's face or reverse. And still more have off-center strikes, clipped planchets, or misalignments that make them freakishly valuable. What's more, most people wouldn't even recognize these errors unless they knew exactly what to look for. These coins are hiding in plain sight. Let's pause here and ask something. How many times have you had a 1964 penny in your hand and thought nothing of it? Scary, right? Now here comes the exciting part. In recent auctions, a pristine 1964 Lincoln penny with an extraordinary double die error and near-perfect condition was snatched up for a jaw-dropping $964,000. That's not a typo. One coin, nearly $1 million. And that's just one of them. Others, slightly lower grade or with less dramatic errors, are still going for tens of thousands, even hundreds of thousands, depending on their rarity and condition. But here's the kicker. These coins aren't buried in vaults or locked away in museums. They're out there, in jars, in drawers, in the change you got back at the grocery store last week. And yes, they're still being found. So what do you look for? First, the basics. Check the date. 1964. No mint mark. That's step 1. Next, get a magnifying glass or a jeweler's loupe. Examine the inscriptions carefully. Look at Liberty, In God We Trust, and especially the date. If the lettering looks like it's been printed twice or slightly shifted, ding ding ding, you might have a double die. Check for odd shapes, clipped edges, off-center strikes, blurry or misaligned elements. Even a faint line across Lincoln's cheek could be a sign of something much bigger. Now, I know what you're thinking. How can I tell for sure? Great question. And here's where it gets practical. Once you've identified a potential treasure, resist the urge to clean it. Cleaning can destroy value faster than you can say, lost opportunity. Instead, take clear photos and consult a professional coin grading service like PCGS or NGC. These institutions can verify authenticity, grade your coin, and get you in front of the right buyers. Because make no mistake, there are buyers. High-end collectors, investors, and even museums are always hunting for rare specimens. And they're ready to pay. But here's the truth most people never hear. Every day you delay checking your coins is a day someone else could be cashing in on theirs. That moment of hesitation, that could cost you everything. Time is not your friend in this game. The older these coins get, the more rare and the more valuable they become. But as awareness spreads, people are checking their pockets, flooding the market, and driving prices down. Right now, right this second, is your moment of leverage, your window to act, to dig through that old change jar with purpose, to stop treating your pennies like pocket lint and start seeing them as potential diamonds. And just imagine what nearly $1 million could mean for you. Pay off your mortgage, retire early, travel the world, start that business you've dreamed of, give your children or grandchildren the future they deserve. All from a coin worth just 1 cent. On the outside, it's almost poetic, isn't it? But before we wrap up, here's the final twist, and you'll want to hear this. Some numismatists believe an ultra-rare version of the 1964 penny exists, one that hasn't even been discovered yet. A coin struck using an experimental composition that was never meant to leave the mint. Rumors, whispers, documents never released to the public. If that coin surfaces, its value could easily surpass 7 figures. So now I'll ask you, what's stopping you? Are you going to be the one who let it sit in a drawer, or the one who turned a penny into prosperity? Because somewhere in this country, maybe in your house, your car, your pocket, there's a tiny copper coin waiting to change someone's life, and it just might be yours. Don't wait. Go check your pennies before someone else cashes in your fortune. What if I told you that a single penny could change your life? Buried in pockets, forgotten in drawers, traded without a second thought. That's what most people do with their coins. But there's one coin, one penny, that's not just currency. It's a ticking time bomb of wealth. A 1979 D. Lincoln penny, believed by some collectors to be worth no more than a cent, has recently shattered expectations with a jaw-dropping market value of $979,000. Yes, you heard that right. Nearly $1 million. For a penny. Now take a second. Imagine checking your coin jar and realizing you've been sitting on a fortune. That kind of discovery doesn't just change your bank account, it changes your entire lifestyle. A bigger house, a better car, a life with choices. This isn't fantasy. This is reality. For those who know what to look for, let's take you there. In 1979, America was at a crossroads. The economy was volatile, inflation was rising, and everyday people were feeling the squeeze. But while the headlines were focused on oil prices and international tensions, something quiet was happening at the Denver Mint. Over 5 billion pennies were struck that year. But among them, buried in the avalanche of copper, was a coin that would become an underground legend. It wasn't shiny. It wasn't glamorous. In fact, it looked just like every other penny. But a tiny detail, a subtle imperfection, an overlooked anomaly, turned this ordinary coin into a millionaire's artifact. The D-Mint mark on this particular Lincoln penny is the giveaway. But not all 1979 D pennies are valuable. That's where things get interesting. There are secrets hidden in the metal. Misstrikes, double dies, off-center errors, each a fingerprint of rarity. 1979 D penny in pristine uncirculated condition recently stunned collectors by selling for $979,000. Why? Because it was flawless. A near-perfect MS-68 red specimen with an exceptionally rare die variety. Only a handful exist, and the demand from high-end collectors, those chasing the prestige of owning the best, sent its price soaring. But here's the million-dollar question. Could you have one? Odds say you might, especially if you've inherited coins, collected casually, or just tossed spare change in a jar over the years. And let's be honest, how many of us actually check our pennies? You might have handled one today and let it go. Painful thought, isn't it? Now let's slow down. Because this isn't about luck. This is about knowledge. If you want to join the small group of people cashing in on rare coins, you need to know how to identify them. Start with the basics. The 1979 D. Lincoln penny should have a sharp, clear strike. Look at Lincoln's bust. Is there full detail in his beard? Are the steps on the Lincoln Memorial crisp? Then look for anomalies, doubling in the inscriptions like Liberty or the date. Some valuable variants also show minor off-center strikes or die cracks, those jagged lines across the surface that came from overworked minting machines. But even more critical, the condition. A penny that's been circulated and worn down will never fetch the same price as one in mint condition. That's why coin grading matters. Professional grading by services like PCGS or NGC can be the difference between a $1 curiosity and a $100,000 plus payday. Graded coins are sealed, authenticated, and valued in the open market. This is how serious collectors do business. Still think pennies are just pocket change? Let me ask you something. What would you do with an extra $1 million? Would you retire early? Start that business you've always dreamed of? Move somewhere warmer where winter's just a story people tell? This is where it gets exciting. Because the 1979 D penny isn't the only coin with hidden value. Every year, the US Mint produced small batches of coins that had errors, variations, or rare finishes. Many ended up in circulation. That means opportunity is still out there in everyday places. In rolls from the bank, in estate collections, in flea markets and yard sales. But here's where the urgency comes in. More and more people are waking up to this truth. The coin collecting world isn't just old men with magnifying glasses anymore. It's investors, treasure hunters, savvy flippers, and they're scouring eBay, auctions, and coin shows for the next big find. The market is heating up, and rare pennies like the 1979 D aren't just holding value. They're skyrocketing. And yet, most Americans still ignore them. That's the real tragedy. Because while some are cashing in, others are unknowingly spending coins worth thousands. Imagine giving away a $900,000 penny to a vending machine. This happening every day. So now, the choice is yours. You can walk away from this video and forget it ever existed. Or you can take the next step. Start inspecting your change. Dig out that old coin jar from the garage. Dust off the inherited box of coins your grandfather gave you. You may not find a 1979 D $1 million specimen today, but the journey is worth it. And here's a twist you didn't see coming. The $979,000 penny? It was discovered by a private collector who almost didn't check the coin. He nearly spent it on coffee. One glance before tossing it changed everything. A flicker of curiosity, followed by a flood of fortune. Don't wait. Start looking. Because the next penny millionaire could be you. Did you know that the penny lying forgotten in your kitchen drawer could be worth nearly $1 million? Yes, a 1982 Lincoln D penny, one you might walk past every day without a second glance, is making waves in the coin collecting world with a jaw-dropping market value of $982,000. And it's not a rumor. It's not an urban legend. It's real, verified, and it's changing lives. Now before you shrug and think, well, I doubt I have one, consider this. Over 10 billion pennies were minted in 1982, but only a handful were struck in a way that makes them priceless. The question is, do you own one of them? This is not a story about luck. It's a story about awareness. A story about the wealth that's hiding in plain sight and the people who discovered it before it was too late. In 1982, the US Mint made a quiet but pivotal change. Copper prices were soaring, so the Mint decided to shift from the traditional 95% copper penny to a cheaper zinc core with a thin copper plating. Simple cost-cutting, right? But here's the twist. Both copper and zinc versions were minted in the same year, at multiple facilities. And one of the Denver Mint batches, designated by the tiny D below Lincoln's shoulder, turned out to be a mistake that would become a collector's dream. Now, imagine this. A regular American, clearing out an old coin jar, stumbles across a 1982 D penny. It feels a little heavier than the others. Something feels off. They weigh it. It's a copper version, not zinc. But that version shouldn't exist. Suddenly, Their everyday penny is worth more than a Lamborghini. Sound crazy? It happened. Only a few authentic copper 1982 D pennies are known to exist. And when collectors find out one is up for grabs, the bids explode. One of these coins fetched close to $1 million. Think about that next time you dismiss your spare change as worthless. But here's where it gets urgent. There could be more. In your home, in your coin jar, in your father's cigar box. And every day that passes, someone else might discover one before you do. So how do you know if you've struck gold or copper in this case? Start with a scale. A 1982 D zinc penny weighs about 2.5 grams. But the rare copper version? 3.1 grams. That tiny difference is the doorway to nearly $1 million. You don't need special training. Just a digital scale and a sharp eye. And let's say you find one that weighs correctly. You're not done yet. You'll want to have it authenticated by a professional grading service, PCGS or NGC, because buyers want proof. And once it's confirmed, the offers come quickly. Sometimes through auction houses, sometimes directly from elite collectors who don't want their competition to know what they're chasing. Still not convinced this could happen to you? Let's put it this way. Hundreds of people are already checking their old pennies after hearing stories like this. Not coin dealers. Everyday folks. Plumbers, teachers, veterans, nurses. Many of them have turned a forgotten penny into 6- or 7-figure paydays. Meanwhile, others let them slip away, unaware of what they held in their hands. Which side of that story are you going to be on? It's also not just about this one coin. Learning to identify these rare variations could unlock a completely new source of income. This isn't just treasure hunting, it's wealth literacy. A quiet revolution of ordinary Americans turning knowledge into cash. While others scroll social media or binge-watch shows, a growing number are quietly getting rich. All from knowing what to look for in their pocket change. Now you might be wondering what makes this specific coin worth so much. It's scarcity. Certified examples of the 1982 D copper small date penny are virtually non-existent. The mint never intended for them to be produced. Which means any that slipped through are mistakes, happy accidents that now have collectors in bidding wars. Think of it like finding a rare stamp, but one you've probably touched a dozen times without realizing it. But here's the scary part. Millions of 1982 pennies are damaged, worn, or tossed aside daily. And among them could be the one you're looking for. Ever thrown a penny in a fountain and made a wish? Imagine if the coin you wished on could have granted that wish literally. A coin worth nearly $1 million doesn't just buy a car. It pays off mortgages. It funds retirements. It changes legacies. So don't wait. Don't assume. Don't let someone else's story become the one you missed out on. Check your 1982 D pennies. Weigh them. And if you find one at 3.1 grams, you may have just discovered your first fortune. And here's the kicker, you might have more than one. Coin rolls from the early 80s are still floating around in drawers, old jars, bank boxes, sometimes unopened for decades. What if your retirement isn't in a 401k, but in a roll of coins collecting dust in the attic? This story isn't over yet. In fact, we're just getting started. Because there are whispers about even more rare 1982 variations surfacing. Coins with minting anomalies so subtle they go unnoticed even by experienced collectors. Are these worth even more? That's what top numismatists are racing to discover. But if that next record-breaking penny appears, will it be yours? Check your coins. Because the next American millionaire might just be watching this video. What if I told you that a single, ordinary-looking penny, one you might have sitting in a forgotten jar or buried at the bottom of a junk drawer, could be worth nearly $1 million? Sounds impossible, right? But the truth is, an unassuming 1984 Lincoln penny with a tiny D mint mark could change someone's financial life forever. This isn't a fantasy. It's real. And today, we're diving into how one of the most overlooked coins in American pocket change is quietly making millionaires out of everyday people. Now, before you brush this off as another coin collecting story, ask yourself this. Have you ever wondered why some people seem to stumble into wealth while others grind away their whole lives? What if the difference isn't luck, but awareness? That's what this story is about. In 1984, the Denver Mint struck millions of Lincoln 1-cent coins. At first glance, They were like any other penny, copper-plated zinc, with Lincoln's familiar profile on the obverse. But not all of them were created equal. A small number were struck with rare errors, striking die anomalies, or incredibly unique characteristics that make them astronomically valuable in today's collector market. One such coin recently sold for a staggering $984,000. And no, that's not a typo. Let that sink in. A penny, worth more than a Ferrari, more than a house, almost $1 million for something most people wouldn't bend down to pick up off the sidewalk. Feel that jolt of excitement? That's not just hope. That's potential. So what makes the 1984 D Lincoln penny so special? Here's where things get interesting. For starters, this particular penny is linked to a variety of rare errors and die varieties. Most notably, a small handful were minted with what numismatists call a double die error. That means parts of the coin, especially Lincoln's ear and the inscriptions, appear doubled, giving them a distinctive and eye-catching texture under magnification. These doubling errors are not only rare, they're highly sought after by serious collectors who are willing to pay eye-watering amounts to get their hands on them. Now imagine this. Someone out there, maybe someone just like you, once had this exact penny in their change. Maybe they bought a cup of coffee with it. Maybe it rolled under a car seat. Or maybe it's still in a shoebox in their attic, completely unnoticed. Kinda makes you want to check your old coins, doesn't it? But rarity isn't the only thing driving up the value. Condition matters a lot. Collectors crave uncirculated examples, coins that have avoided the wear and tear of everyday life. A pristine, brilliant 1984 D penny with the right error in MS67 or higher grade. That's the gold standard. That's where the magic number, $984,000, starts to come into play. Of course, not every 1984 D penny is going to make you rich. But the chance, however slim, is very real. And that chance has already paid off for more than one lucky individual. There are stories of people discovering rare coins in inherited jars, at flea markets, or simply while sorting through change at the end of the day. You don't need a degree in numismatics. You just need curiosity, a sharp eye, and a little bit of luck. Now, let's address the obvious question. How do you know if you've got one? Start by checking for the D mint mark just below the date. That indicates it was minted in Denver. Then look closely, very closely, at the lettering, Lincoln's ear, and any signs of doubling. If you think you see something unusual, don't second-guess yourself. That moment of hesitation, that could cost you 6 figures. Send it to a reputable coin grading service like PCGS or NGC. They'll authenticate and grade your coin professionally, giving it the credibility needed to sell in high-end auctions. And speaking of auctions, here's where the urgency comes in. The market for rare coins, especially US pennies, is exploding. With inflation climbing and investors seeking alternative assets, collectible coins are becoming serious financial instruments. Demand is soaring, but supply is vanishingly small. The longer you wait, the more you risk missing this window of opportunity. Think about it. Someone out there is holding the next $1 million penny right now, but they won't be holding it forever. Still think this is just another penny. Let's take a quick breather. Ask yourself, when was the last time you checked your loose change? Really checked it. Not just for quarters at the laundromat, but for hidden wealth? Because buried in those coins could be your ticket out, your chance to break the cycle, pay off debt, or finally take that dream vacation. Or better yet, build a nest egg that could last generations. And here's the kicker, most people will never know. They'll spend that penny without a second thought. They'll pass up fortune for convenience. But you're different. You're still here. You're listening. And that means you're already ahead of the game. Want a little twist? Some 1984 D pennies also show signs of transitional planchet errors, coins struck on the wrong metal, or with off-center strikes that make them unique. These anomalies are like lightning in a bottle. Combine rarity, condition, and a dramatic error. That's when collectors start throwing around numbers with 6, and sometimes even 7 figures. Here's something fun to think about. Somewhere in America right now, maybe sitting in a coin jar in Wichita, or at a yard sale in Tucson, or tossed in a donation bucket in Chicago, is a penny that could change someone's life. The only question is, will it be yours? Let's not pretend this is just about money. It's about freedom. It's about legacy. It's about taking control of your story. Because wealth doesn't always come from hard labor or high-risk investments. Sometimes it comes from the past, quietly waiting to be discovered in the palm of your hand. So, before this video ends, do one thing. Go grab your coin jar. Open that drawer. Look at the pennies you've ignored for years. The 1984 D. Lincoln cent is more than copper and zinc. It's a time capsule, a treasure, and maybe, just maybe, it's your million-dollar moment. Don't blink. Because fortunes are found by those who dare to look. Have you ever held a penny in your hand that was secretly worth nearly $1 million? Not in your wildest dreams? Well, dream bigger. Because right now, sitting quietly in change jars, old drawers, or forgotten boxes in attics across America, there are 1985 Lincoln pennies, stamped with the small but mighty D mint mark, that have flipped the script on what we think a 1-cent coin can be worth. This isn't just a story about money. This is about hidden opportunity, about how something so ordinary, so overlooked, could be your golden ticket to a wealthier life. Imagine finding a coin that could rewrite your retirement plan, pay off your house, or fund your dream vacation. On a beach somewhere, sipping a cold drink, while the world wonders how you pulled it off. Now, before you brush this off as another internet fairy tale, listen closely. Because in the coin-collecting world, a select number of 1985 D. Lincoln pennies have shocked experts with their rarity, their condition, and most of all, their jaw-dropping price tags. One such coin sold for a staggering $985,000. Yes, $985,000 for a penny. So what makes these coins so valuable? To understand that, we need to go back to 1985, a year that feels like yesterday to some and ancient history to others. Ronald Reagan was president. Gas was just over $1, and the Denver Mint, busy as ever, was churning out billions of pennies. But hidden among those billions were a few extraordinary coins. Flawless strikes, impossibly sharp details, unique copper-plated zinc compositions struck in error or preserved under immaculate conditions. Some were double dyes, others had off-center minting, and a select few had a mysterious luster and eye appeal that made seasoned collectors stop in their tracks. It wasn't just about condition. It was about perfection. Imagine owning a coin so pristine, so untouched by time, that it could sit in a museum, and yet it came from your grandfather's coin jar or your childhood piggy bank. That's the magic of numismatics. It's part science, part art, and part treasure hunt. But here's the twist most people miss. Not every valuable penny looks special. In fact, many of these ultra-valuable 1985 D pennies blend in perfectly with the ordinary.
No fancy color. No magical glow.
They're hiding in plain sight until someone with a trained eye spots the truth. Which means, that penny you were about to toss might be the key to unlocking a financial future you never imagined. Let that sink in. You might be wondering, why haven't I heard of this before? Why aren't people lining up at banks to cash in their copper fortunes? The truth is, most people don't know what to look for. They don't know that certain error coins, like double die obverse, misaligned dies, or even coins struck on the wrong planchets, can skyrocket in value overnight. And more importantly, they don't know how to spot the million-dollar versions. Coin collectors, dealers, and auction houses are constantly scanning for these treasures. But here's the thing, they're hoping you don't realize what you have. Because once you do, you hold all the cards. And that brings us to a deeper question. How many other treasures are you sitting on? Simply because you haven't looked closely. Maybe it's not just about pennies. Maybe it's about every overlooked opportunity in your life. Every untapped corner. Every drawer you haven't opened in years. You see, coins like the 1985 D penny aren't just relics. They're reminders that life can change when you least expect it. That even the smallest, most mundane thing can carry incredible value, if you know where to look. And the clock is ticking. More people are learning about rare coins every day. Auctions are heating up. That $985,000 sale? It wasn't a fluke. It was a signal that this market is alive, growing, and full of potential for those bold enough to seize it. So the next time you see a penny on the ground, will you walk past it? Or will you bend down, pick it up, and take a closer look? Because what if that coin is the one? What if your journey to wealth doesn't start with a high-paying job or a Wall Street investment, but with a coin that's been in your pocket all along? Too dramatic. Ask the person who just sold theirs for nearly $1 million. But wait, don't run to your coin jar just yet. We're not done. Coming up, I'll tell you the exact signs to look for in a 1985 D penny that could mean the difference between 1 cent and $985,000, including one secret that most collectors still overlook. And once you know it, you'll never see pennies the same way again. They say the road to wealth is paved with secrets, some hidden in bank vaults, some buried in real estate, and some sitting quietly in your kitchen drawer, forgotten in a dusty old jar of pennies. But what if I told you that a tiny copper coin from 1992, yes, just 1 cent, could be your ticket to life-changing wealth? And no, this isn't just a fantasy. One of these coins, a 1992 Lincoln penny with a simple little D mint mark, has already commanded a staggering $992,000 in today's market. Not a typo, not a scam, a penny, worth nearly $1 million. Now you might be thinking, come on, a 1992 penny? I was barely paying rent that year, let alone hunting for treasure. But that's the thing, this wasn't made for treasure hunters. This coin was made for ordinary Americans. It's in circulation, and chances are, it may still be out there. Let me show you why collectors, auction houses, and silent billionaires are desperately hunting this coin. Because once you understand what makes this coin special, you might never look at loose change the same way again. Let's go back to 1992. Bill Clinton had just been elected president. VHS tapes were still hot. The internet was just a whisper. And at the Denver Mint, among billions of ordinary 1-cent coins, a mistake was made. A quiet, nearly invisible, historic mistake. That mistake? A rare design known as the close AM reverse. Instead of the usual wide spacing between the A and M in America, a select few 1992 D pennies were struck using a proof die, intended only for special collector coins. These dies had tighter, cleaner spacing. That close AM variation should have never reached the public. But it did. Now imagine a needle in a haystack, only this one is worth nearly $1 million. In 2012, a coin collector spotted one. Just one. And over the next decade, the price ballooned. The most recent auction? Just under $1 million. 1 penny. 1 stroke of luck. How many of these are still out there? No one knows. But experts believe less than 15 exist. And many more could be hiding. In forgotten jars, dusty shoeboxes, or quietly jingling in an old wallet left untouched since the 90s. Still think pennies are worthless? Now, here's the real twist. This coin doesn't look flashy. There's no gold shimmer. No holographic finish. To most people, it's just another brown coin with Abraham Lincoln on the front. But that's the danger and the opportunity. Because most people would spend it without a second glance. And that's what makes it so powerful. It hides in plain sight. You might be holding one right now. That cup holder in your car? Your grandma's coin stash? Even the handful of change you ignored at a garage sale? The fortune could be right there, just waiting for someone who knows what to look for. And that's why you need to pay attention to the details. On the reverse side, flip that penny over. Look at the word America. If the A and M are nearly touching, if there's almost no gap between them, you might have just found the rare close AM variant. And if it also has a little D mint mark under the date, congratulations. You might be holding one of the rarest Lincoln cents ever made. Now let's be real for a second. Not every 1992 penny is going to buy you a mansion. But if even one person watching this finds a close AM 1992 D in their change jar, it could rewrite your financial future. And isn't that the dream? To discover something forgotten and turn it into freedom. So what should you do next? Don't rush to sell it on eBay. First, protect it. Handle it carefully, preferably with gloves. Coins lose value the moment they're scratched, smudged, or cleaned improperly. Yes, even cleaning it can ruin everything. Next, take clear photos, front and back. Zoom in on the AM. Get a second opinion. Reach out to a trusted coin grading service, like PCGS or NGC, and get it officially authenticated. That authentication, It's your golden ticket to the auction room. And a word of warning. There are fakes out there. Scammers are crafting lookalikes hoping to prey on desperate collectors. But trained eyes and real grading services can spot the difference instantly. Don't be fooled. You've come too far. Now you might be wondering, if these coins are so rare, why hasn't everyone checked their change already? The answer is simple. Most people don't know what to look for. That's your edge. That's your advantage. You're now among the 0.01% who do. Let that sink in. And here's the kicker. Some experts believe there could be more undiscovered variations from the 1992 mintage. Other dates, other mint marks, other errors. These aren't just coins, they're the financial equivalent of lottery tickets. Except the odds? Much better. If you know where to look. So I'll leave you with this. What if your wealth isn't locked in a stock portfolio or a 401k? What if your wealth, your legacy, your second chance, is sitting inside a penny jar on your kitchen shelf? You owe it to yourself to find out. Because someone, somewhere, is going to find another one of these million-dollar pennies. The only question is, will it be you? Keep watching. In the next video, I'll reveal 3 more coins from the 1990s that are selling for 6 figures. And one of them might already be in your house. Have you ever walked past a coin on the sidewalk and not bothered to pick it up? What if I told you that one of those forgotten pennies, specifically a 1994 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, could be worth nearly $1 million today? Yes, you heard that right. A coin worth just 1 cent at face value, now fetching up to $994,000 in the collector's market. Most people wouldn't think twice about tossing an old penny into a tip jar or the back of a drawer, but that tiny, copper-toned coin could be your golden ticket to a life you never dreamed possible. A life free of bills, stress, and the daily grind. The question is, do you know what to look for? Before we reveal how one of these seemingly ordinary pennies became a gateway to nearly 7 figures, let's rewind the story a bit. In 1994, billions of Lincoln cents were struck by the U.S. Mint. To most eyes, they looked identical, just another year, another penny. But hidden within that ocean of copper-plated zinc, a few coins slipped through the cracks. Coins without a mint mark. Coins struck with rare die errors. Coins with microscopic differences that only the trained eye or the lucky soul would ever notice. These anomalies would become legends. Now here's where it gets exciting. One such 1994 penny, seemingly lost to time, reemerged at a private estate auction in early 2024. It bore no mint mark, showed extreme detail on Lincoln's bust, and had a mysterious doubling effect on the word liberty. Its luster was still strong after all these years, as if it refused to age. This wasn't just a coin. It was a masterpiece of minting imperfection. And someone paid $994,000 for it. Nearly $1 million. For 1 cent, you might be thinking, how does this even happen? Why would anyone pay that much? The answer lies in rarity and demand. You see, coin collectors, especially high-net-worth investors, aren't just buying metal. They're buying history, scarcity, and stories. The 1994 no-mint mark Lincoln penny combines all 3. Its unusual production errors, limited existence, and the sheer unpredictability of its survival make it a trophy for elite collectors. And when collectors compete, prices climb fast. Now here's the part most people miss. The 1994 no-mint mark penny isn't just a one-off legend. Several others are still unaccounted for. Some may already be in circulation. Some might be hiding in your house, tucked into a forgotten jar, a shoebox, or an old wallet you haven't opened in years. Sounds ridiculous? Maybe. But tell that to the man who found one in his grandfather's coin jar and sold it for enough to retire on. So, what should you be looking for? Start with the obvious. The date should read 1994, and there should be no mint mark under the year. That alone doesn't guarantee value, but it's your starting line. Next, look closely at the text. If the letters, especially Liberty or In God We Trust, appear slightly doubled, misaligned, or off-center, you could be holding something special. If the edges are unusually sharp or the color looks too pristine for its age, don't ignore your instincts. And here's the part that gives most people chills. Many of these ultra-rare pennies have been discovered by people who know nothing about coins. Regular folks. a retired teacher in Kansas, a single mom in Nevada, a mechanic in Georgia. They didn't have numismatic degrees or fancy microscopes. They just looked. Still think your pocket change is worthless? This is the moment to stop and wonder. If one coin is worth nearly $1 million, how many other treasures have we thrown away? How much potential wealth is sitting, unnoticed, in the bottom of old drawers or tucked between couch cushions? And here's the urgent part. Every day that passes, more of these coins disappear. Spent, melted, or lost forever. The window is closing. Collectors are getting more aggressive. The market is heating up. And once these rare coins are locked away in private collections, they're gone. Forever. So why wait? Go grab your jar of pennies, dust off that old box from the attic, and take a closer look at every 1994 Lincoln cent you find. Because while others are watching videos and dreaming of wealth, you could be holding it. And one last thing. That $994,000 penny? Rumor has it another one was recently spotted at a local coin shop in Ohio. But it vanished before any expert could verify it. Where did it go? Who has it now? Nobody knows. Yet, what if I told you that a coin you've likely overlooked 100 times, a simple 2015 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, could be worth up to $915,000? Yes, nearly $1 million. And no, this isn't some internet myth. This ordinary-looking coin might be hiding in your change jar, in your glove compartment, or under your sofa cushions. And the people who know how to spot it, they're quietly turning pocket change into generational wealth. Now, I know what you're thinking. How could something so small be worth so much? The answer isn't just about the metal, the year, or even the design. It's about the secret world of minting errors, rare varieties, and the powerful collector's market that's hungrier than ever for coins like these. Let's rewind the story. In 2015, the U.S. Mint produced hundreds of millions of pennies. Most of them were flawless, forgettable, and destined to disappear into circulation. But a handful slipped through the cracks. Some of these coins were struck off-center. Others showed what numismatists call double die obverse, where Lincoln's profile or the inscriptions appear blurred, ghosted, or doubled. A few even had unusual die breaks, cracks in the minting tool itself, that left wild, jagged scars on the surface of the coin. Here's where it gets fascinating. The rarer the mistake, the more collectors will pay. And for certain 2015 no-mint mark pennies with dramatic, verified errors, auction prices have quietly crept into six figures. The most astonishing sale? A verified specimen sold for a jaw-dropping $915,000. Pause for a second. Imagine stumbling on a penny that could pay off your mortgage. Imagine holding a tiny disc of copper and zinc that unlocks financial freedom. That's not fantasy. It's someone's actual story. But what makes this particular penny so special? Let's break it down. First, the no-mint mark means it was produced in Philadelphia, where pennies aren't marked with a letter. That alone doesn't make it valuable. But when paired with an error, especially one missed by the mint's final inspection process, you're looking at a rare collectible. One key variety to watch for is the 2015 double die error. Look closely at the words Liberty or In God We Trust. If the letters look doubled, stretched, or slightly offset, you might be holding something extraordinary. And if you're wondering whether it's worth looking, remember, one man found his in a vending machine. Now, here's the twist. Not all coin errors are obvious. Some require a magnifying glass. Others need expert verification from a grading service like PCGS or NGC. But once certified, the value can skyrocket. That $915K sale? It came after authentication, grading, and market exposure. And let's not ignore the psychology behind this. We live in a time where people are hungry for financial change. Tired of inflation, tired of hustle culture, tired of being told that wealth is only for the elite. This coin, this overlooked penny, is a symbol that wealth can be hidden in the most unexpected places. It's also a race. Rare coins don't stay secret forever. As more people learn what to look for, the market floods. Values drop. Opportunities dry up. That's why the time to act is now. Think of this video as your early invitation to the table. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you really looked at your spare change? Could you have already spent $1 million penny without knowing it? A little ironic, isn't it, that the path to riches could literally pass through your hands without a second glance? Maybe you're skeptical. That's healthy. But the coin collecting world isn't built on hype. It's built on data, auction records, grading reports, and cold hard metal. You don't need to be a numismatist or a history buff. You just need sharp eyes, a willingness to check, and maybe a touch of curiosity. Want to know a little secret? The people making the biggest finds aren't experts. They're regular folks who dared to look twice. Now, before you run to your sock drawer, here's something else to consider. Even pennies without obvious errors can gain value if they're in pristine condition. A 2015 Lincoln penny graded MS69 red could sell for thousands on its own. That's right, just for being well preserved. So if you've got a roll of shiny 2015 pennies sitting untouched, you might be sitting on a gold mine. And yes, some might laugh at the idea of turning pennies into a fortune. But don't they always laugh? Until someone cashes in? Until someone else walks away with the prize you didn't even know existed. Don't be the one who missed the wave. Right now, collectors, dealers, and investors are combing through coin rolls, estate sales, and old jars in hopes of finding the next big win. There are communities, forums, even full-time careers being built on coins like this. Still think it's just a penny. By the end of this video, millions of people will hear about the 2015 no-mint mark Lincoln penny. Some will go check their change. Some won't. But only a few will truly look. And maybe one of them will find the next $915,000 coin. So what's stopping you? Go check your coins. The millionaire's penny might already be yours.